Hello and welcome to the Awakening with Kelvin Phiri Podcast, part of our Bridges to Prosperity series. I am so glad you've joined me today as we continue our discussion on the national budget. In our last episode, we broke down Zambia's 2026 budget in simple terms. We looked at where the money is going, how much is being spent on debt, on health, education, agriculture, and the Constituency Development Fund. Before we go further, let me pause here with a disclaimer. Everything I share in this podcast is based on official government records, including the 2026 budget speech presented to Parliament, as well as other credible sources. This podcast is for education and discussion purposes only. It is not legal advice, not financial advice, and not an endorsement of any political party. My aim is simply to explain these issues in plain language so that all of us, both at home and in the diaspora, can understand what they mean for our future. Now, with that in place, let us ask the real question on everyone's mind. Can this budget actually help break the cycle of poverty in Zambia? Poverty is not just about lacking money. It is about being trapped in a system where no matter how hard you work, you can't move forward. In Zambia, poverty has passed from one generation to the next, especially in rural areas, because of weak access to education, poor infrastructure, lack of jobs, and little support for small businesses. To break this cycle, the budget has to do more than just keep the lights on. It has to give ordinary people real opportunities to stand on their own feet. Let's begin with small businesses and finance, because that is where the beating heart of our economy lies. The majority of Zambians are not employed in big companies or multinationals. They are small traders, farmers, carpenters, mechanics, poultry farmers, and cantemba owners. They are also artisanal miners digging for manganese or gold. These are the people who, if supported, can lift entire communities out of poverty. The 2026 budget, presented by Finance Minister Dr. Situmbeko Musoko Twane, makes one of the boldest moves we have seen in recent years in this space. It sets aside 851 million kwacha for the Zambia Credit Guarantee Scheme. What does that mean? It means government is willing to stand behind small businesses when they go to the bank for a loan. In the past, a market trader in Kitwe or a young farmer in Lundazi had no chance of getting credit because banks saw them as risky. But now, with this guarantee, banks have assurance that part of the risk will be shared by government. That is a big step in opening doors for small entrepreneurs. Alongside this, 588 million kwacha has been allocated to empowerment funds. This is up from about 392 million last year. These are funds meant for women, youth, and community cooperatives. We have already seen how the Marketeer Booster Program and Busulu loans have allowed people to expand their businesses. The minister shared real examples. A marketeer at Chisokone Market sending a child to university, a youth in Lundazi opening a cantemba, and a small Lusaka business scaling up operations because of these funds. These are not statistics. They are real lives being transformed. And here is where the diaspora connection comes in. For Zambians living abroad, this is a signal. If government is guaranteeing loans and empowering small businesses at home, it is an opportunity to partner with family or cooperatives back home. You can channel your remittances into ventures that have a safety net behind them. For example, you might support a relative to apply for credit under the guarantee scheme or help them register a cooperative that can qualify for empowerment funds. In this way, diaspora money doesn't just pay school fees or build houses. It begins to create businesses that last, And then there is the tax relief. Government has raised the tax exempt threshold for turnover tax and rental income tax to 2,500 kwacha per month, up from just 1,000 kwacha. For small scale miners, the turnover tax threshold has been lifted to 5 million kwacha, up from only 800,000. That means miners can grow their operations much larger before the heavy taxes kick in. And for those who pay late, the penalty has been reduced to 0.5% instead of 5%. That is real breathing space. Why is this so important? Because without credit, without breathing space, small businesses remain stuck in survival mode. They can feed a family but never grow to employ others. By opening up finance and easing the tax burden, the budget is giving small players the chance to expand, hire, and create wealth that stays in communities. This is how you chip away at the cycle of poverty. But let's move beyond small businesses for a moment. Education remains one of the most powerful tools in breaking poverty. The 2026 budget allocates 33 billion kwacha to education, which is 13% of the total budget. Free education continues, with over 2.3 million learners already benefiting since its introduction. In 2026, the homegrown school feeding program will reach all 116 districts, ensuring children not only go to school but stay there because they have food. Over 3,500 teachers will be recruited, and 1.6 million desks have been procured since 2022, with 42% supplied through local manufacturers using CDF. Think about it. 5 years ago, many children were sitting on logs under trees. Today, more are sitting at proper desks in proper classrooms. That is how you break the cycle of generational poverty, by giving the next generation the tools and knowledge to go further than their parents could. Agriculture is another area where poverty can be broken if farming is treated as business and not just survival. The budget sets aside 15.5 billion kwacha for agriculture, fisheries and livestock. Out of this, 9.2 billion kwacha will go to the Farmer Input Support Program, with the e-voucher now rolling out across the country. The bumper harvest of 3.7 million tons of maize last season showed what is possible when rains, inputs and policy come together. But government is looking ahead. It wants maize production to reach 10 million tons, wheat and soya to reach 1 million tons each by the year 2031. That is far more than we consume as a country. The message is clear. Zambia must grow to export. Farming must be business, linked to markets in the region and beyond. For the diaspora, this matters too. When Zambia moves from subsistence to commercial farming, it opens space for investment in value chains. A Zambian living abroad can partner with relatives on irrigation projects, food processing plants, or even export ventures. With bumper harvests and export orientation, diaspora capital can ride on these government efforts. Now, let's not forget the Constituency Development Fund. In 2026, every constituency will receive 40 million kwacha, up from 36 million last year. This money is going into classrooms, maternity wards, boreholes, bursaries, and community projects. For a long time, development was something people only read about in Lusaka or provincial towns. But now, through CDF, communities from Mwinilunga to Patauke are seeing real projects delivered locally. If CDF continues to be managed well and transparently, it is one of the strongest tools for fighting poverty, because it empowers people where they live. And for those of us in the diaspora, it is a chance to support local projects in our home constituencies. Some are already using CDF to co-finance youth skills training, or even to supply desks and construction materials from family businesses. And then there is social protection. The budget allocates 15.7 billion kwacha for this. That includes 7.6 billion kwacha for the social cash transfer program, which now targets 1.5 million households, meaning more than 8 million Zambians will directly benefit. For many, this is the difference between having a meal and going hungry. The food security pack will also reach more than 320,000 vulnerable but viable farmers, providing them with inputs and training so that they can move from dependence to productivity. Health is equally important. With 26.2 billion kwacha allocated, drugs and medical supplies will see a 30% increase in funding. Anyone who remembers the shortages of the past knows how devastating it is when hospitals have no medicine. Poverty is not only about money, it is also about the inability to access basic healthcare. When families don't have to sell everything to pay for medicine, they are better able to climb out of poverty. So will this budget break the cycle of poverty? The honest answer is it has the tools to do so. Small businesses are getting support. Education is being strengthened. Farmers are being pushed towards exports. Local communities are being empowered through CDF, and the vulnerable are being cushioned through cash transfers. But budgets alone don't break poverty. Implementation does. If funds are mismanaged, if corruption creeps in, if opportunities are wasted, then the cycle continues. This is where you and I come in as citizens, as diaspora investors, as people who care about Zambia. We must hold leaders accountable. We must demand transparency, and we must take advantage of the opportunities offered. Poverty will not be broken by government alone. It will be broken when every Zambian, whether at home or abroad, sees these opportunities as a chance to build a better life. Thank you for joining me on the Awakening with Kelvin Phiri podcast under our Bridges to Prosperity series. If you found this episode insightful, please share it with a friend, leave a comment, and subscribe so that more people can join the conversation about building a prosperous Zambia. Until next time, this is Kelvin Phiri reminding you poverty is not destiny. It is a challenge we can overcome together.